Hi, and welcome to Apache Hadoop 3x course. I'm Abhishek Sakuja from Degree, and in this video, we are going to look an introduction to Hadoop. So, what exactly Hadoop is all about? I've just divided the Hadoop definition into different points, so it is easy to remember and you can form your own definition when somebody asks you what exactly Hadoop is. So, Hadoop is an open source component, which means it is free, available. You can just go and get started with it. It is a part of Apache Foundation Software Group, and I'll tell you the history that when exactly it became the Apache Foundation Software Group and where exactly it started, who has started the Hadoop. It's a Java-based processing framework because most of you have already know that whenever you are working on Hadoop, right? Some people know that yes, they should know a Java skill set because it's a Java-based programming framework, and that's why some people are really afraid to get into this technology. But it is not like that. That you'll learn during this course that it is not Java. If you do not know Java, you do not have to worry before jumping onto this technology. Data storage. Processing of large data sets. Like if there is a large data sets, of course we are talking about the big data. We are talking about one of the solution that to process the big data is Hadoop, and therefore of course we need we already have a large data sets, we have huge volumes, and we would like to process the data. So that's what Hadoop is. It is on the distributed environment. Like let's people who have already have an experience, they're working in data warehouses or they're working in business intelligence or any other technology, they know that at the background, whenever they are doing anything on those technologies, there is one stack, and that stack is we called as vertical stack. But here we are talking about, when we talk about Hadoop, we are talks about horizontal way. Or we also call it a scalability, which is a horizontal scalability, which we are going to talk in the other or the upcoming videos. And therefore, this environment is called distributed, which other word for distributed is also as MPP, which is massively parallel processing, where we have multiple machines. So those are distributed in nature, and you go and store the data over there and process it. So that's what a distributed environment is, what is Hadoop is meant for. And the commodity hardware. Now what exactly this commodity hardware is? So commodity hardware is a hardware which is easily or cheaply available in the market. So that's why they gave a name as a commodity hardware, because of course commodity means the one that we need basically. It's a kind of a basic need, right? So if I say that I need a machine of 62 GB or 64 GB with 16 cores or 32 cores or 128 GB, these machines are really available at a very cheaper price and very quickly in the market. And just because of the cloud providers also, now it is very easy to provision these commodity hardwares and you can get started with Hadoop. So now, considering these points, let's make a definition out of it. So what is Hadoop? Hadoop is an open source component which is a part of Apache Software Foundation Group. It is a Java-based programming framework for data storage and processing of large data sets in a distributed environment using commodity hardware. Yes, so we have the definition. So you just remember these key points and you know what exactly Hadoop is. And it is not just like you know this and you know Hadoop. No, in the upcoming videos we are also going to look what exactly Hadoop is, how we are going to work on it, mainly Hadoop 3. All right. This is the history of Hadoop. So where exactly Hadoop is born? Today we are in 2019, but if you see the story for processing big data and when this Hadoop was born is actually started in 2002, when there is a project which is called Nudge, which was taken by Dog Cutting and Mike Caffarella, started working on this project related to the distributed environments. Then in 2003 to mid of 2004, Google has published GFS and MapReduce paper. So what exactly GFS is? GFS is Google File System. That is where the concept of Hadoop file system, which is called as Hadoop Distributed File System, has came into existence. So the if somebody learns about GCP, which is Google Cloud Platform, they definitely mention that the idea behind this data lake storage of Hadoop distributed file system actually came from GFS itself. Then in 2004, Dog cutting added this DFS, which is your distributed file system, and MapReduce to support their Nudge project. So from Google, they took this because after that they made it open source, and then they tried to use it. And in 2006, Yahoo hires dog cutting, and Hadoop was born out of Nudge. So they named this as Hadoop, and there is also the dog cutting itself has been asked like why this component has named as Hadoop. So it's a very simple reason. So docketing wants to find a name which is meaningless, which is short, which never has been used before. So where he could find the name. So his son was having a toy, which is a yellow color elephant toy, and the son gave the name to that toy as Hadoop without any meaning, right? And from there, this process of a very, very technology changing component was born with a name called Hadoop, right? So it's in 2006. And then there is a people started using it, people started evaluating that how exactly this component is working. One of the example is 2007 when NY Times converts 4 terabytes of images archives over 100 EC2. So EC2 is the AWS, which is very, very niche stage of when this AWS EC2 incident got started. So they just try to leverage Hadoop on top of it. In 2008, there are multiple things happen, like Facebook said, okay, this is a Java-based framework and we are going to use it. But the problem is that we don't have developers who can really do the Java codings. And they created Hive on top of it, which is a kind of SQL support for Hadoop, like a data warehousing on top of Hadoop. So that was the time when people started getting adapted to Hadoop more, because SQL is one of the basic programming language in the technology world. So people get more adaptive to this. And what really happens, like when you run in Hive query languages, that's what we call it, at the background, it automatically creates a logic for your MapReduce program, which earlier has to be written in Java. So that's why it makes it very simple for people. 2008 was also a time when they started sorting the data of 1 terabyte, and they figured out like just took 3.5 minutes over 910 nodes. And in 2008 also, there is one of the biggest company, or one of the biggest distributor of all time of Hadoop was born, which is Cloudera. And now actually the Cloudera has been headed by Docketing. So you can see in 2009 it was Docketing joins the Cloudera. Then they also in 2009 they tried to sort the this 1 terabyte, which took only 62 seconds over 1460 nodes, and sorted the petabytes of data in 16.25 hours over 3658 nodes. When we talk about 1x, there is a limitations of nodes, which is 4096 nodes that you can have on 1x. On 2x you can have 10,000 nodes, and on 3x there is still no limitation has been figured out, because you can have multiple cluster managers, which we are going to talk about. That is one of the differences between the 2x and the 3x. So this is where the history of like where exactly Hadoop was born and how it is continuing. After, like, it is not given in the slide, just to give you a gist, like in 2011 Hadoop 1x was released, and in 2013 Hadoop 2x was released, and then we'll see later on that how exactly Hadoop 3x was released when we're going to talk about how many releases of alpha and beta that they have given. And then we have a GA, that's a general availability release of Hadoop 3x. Now in Hadoop we have two major technologies. Like I would divide Hadoop into two parts. So one is called as HDFS, which is Hadoop Distributed File System. Another one is a MapReduce. So you can simply take it, one for storage, another one for processing. So that's what Hadoop is, right? You store the data, the large data, then you process the data, and that's how you solve the issues of big data problem on Hadoop, right? So therefore the first is your Hadoop Distributed File System, which is distributed file system, as we have already talked in the definition, that we are working on a distributed environment which is which has a horizontal scalability, which means that if I want to add capability to my environment, to my cluster, I just keep adding the machines or keep removing the machine. So that's a distributed file system. File system for large data sets, we are talking about the volume as a big data, one of the major V's issue. So the big data is, or Hadoop is meant for that, and therefore Hadoop, a distributed file system, is meant for the large data sets. And inspired by GFS, as we have already seen in the history, that Google file system is the parent idea of HDFS. Then we have the processing layer, which is your MapReduce. So MapReduce is a computational parallel processing model on Hadoop, and with 1x, it was an embedded, which we are going to see in the next video also, when we are going to talk about the introduction to Hadoop 1x, that it was completely embedded, how it changed in 2x when we are going to talk about 2x, and what is the stage right now that we are doing on 3x. Technology again was developed by Google, because this is MapReduce was again a paper came out of Google, then how we can process the data and processing of large data sets. So again, this is about the volume that is stored on your HDFS, and if I want to process the data on HDFS, I have to use this layer, which is your MapReduce layer, to process the data. So that's what we have in this video, and in the next video we are going to look an introduction to Hadoop 1x. Thank you.